Last week, my friends, we took a look at a tent from Temu that was very inexpensive. It cost about 50 bucks and it was quite interesting. I mentioned in that episode that I actually purchased 2 tents from Temu, and that's because you all have been requesting that I review some products from that website to see if there's anything there that's any good. So with the first tent, very interesting. If you didn't see that episode, make sure to check it out. That was the Grand Canyon Apex 1 tent. There's a lot of stuff that's strange about that tent, so make sure to check out that episode. What we have here is the mid-range tent that I purchased. The Grand Canyon tent was very inexpensive, again 50 bucks. This one here is mid-ranged, $250. With the Apex one, that was from a no-name company. In other words, a brand that you've never heard of before. That's not the case with this tent here. This is from NatureHike. This is the NatureHike Massif tent. This is a very unique tent. It's a hot tent, everybody. This is going to be very interesting, and I cannot wait to begin taking a look at it. My name is Luke. This is the Outdoor Gear Review. Let's begin now. This is interesting, everybody. On the Temu website, NatureHike has their own official store. They call this tent the Weatherproof Double Camping Tent with Canopy. If you go down the listing, you look at some of the photos from NatureHike, they call it the Shinhee. On the tent itself, it's called the Massif. I did a search for this, and I've not been able to locate any information at all. When I purchased this product, it did say it was a pre-order, so maybe this is like a new tent that's hitting the market, and maybe purchasing it off of Temu allows you to get it before it really goes out. I don't know. I have no idea exactly what's going on here. All that I do know is that based upon the pictures of this tent setup, it's cool. Really, really cool. Here is the tent in its storage bag. We have 2 compression straps, and basically you have a burrito bag here, which is my favorite sort of stuff sack. We have a compression strap across the body. And here we have a lot of tent poles. We have some guy lines and tent stakes. To start off, let's take a look at those. We have 6 guy lines, and we have an odd number of tent stakes. 13 of them. Now, my friends, let's take a look at the tent poles. I tell you what, this bag is huge. There must be a lot of poles inside of this. Here in a minute, we'll count these as we set them up. But without a doubt, there's a lot. And now, my friends, what we have here is the tent itself. The inner and the outer are connected, so you don't have to worry about connecting the two, as you can set this up all as one. And that means that you can set this up without the inner getting wet if it's raining. I have to be honest, everybody, I'm impressed with how large this tent is, especially for the amount that I paid for it, which we will talk about in just a second. Okay, I'm going to set up the poles, put them together, and then set up this tent. And it's going to take me a minute to do this because I don't have any really good instructions. This is a big tent. I've never set it up before, so it's going to take a little bit of time to figure out the smoothest way to do this. So I'm going to set this up, and I'll bring you all back when I have it done. Wow, these poles. Everybody, these are not your average aluminum poles. These are very, very thick, like 4th season poles. Very large, very thick. We have 4 poles in total, 2 very long ones with a bend at one end. You have a long straight one and a shorty. After 15 minutes, I have the tent set up, and I have to say I'm blown away. I haven't even opened this up yet. I'm shocked. I really am. This is very, very impressive, again, for the price that I paid for it. Now, I went ahead and I attached the guy lines, but I just realized that this tent has 3 doors, and one of these doorways is actually a big awning. So I'm going to take off 2 of the guy lines, attach them to that awning, and set that up. Then together, we'll look at this tent. So check this out, everybody. The awning has been set up. Now behind that, we have a large panel of mesh to keep the bugs out. Around the tent, we have a snow skirt. I guess in a way you can even call it a bug skirt. This is going to assist with keeping snow out as well as bugs. I mentioned before that we have 3 doors. This is 1, this is 2, and this one is 3. The third door here goes right into the inner tent. That's right, folks. This tent has an inner tent with a bathtub floor to keep bugs out as well as moisture. In addition to the 3 doors in the inner tent, we also have a stove jack. Let's go check on that and see if the jack is actually present or if it's just a hole for one. Check that out, everybody. A stove jack is present. It's built right into the tent. Going inside of the tent here, I can tell you all there's a lot of space. There's enough space here for like your chair, a small table, and also your wood stove. With the tent inner, this can be removed fully if you don't want to use it, but let's say that you do. You have adjustments all the way around this so you can pull it nice and tight. We have mesh here, and we also have a mesh panel here at the door. Inside of this tent, I can tell you all that it's large enough for 1 person, 2 people in a pinch. It's going to shine for 1 person plus some gear. Inside of this, you have a mesh pocket, 2 mesh pockets actually. You have some hooks and a ton of mesh. Inside of this, you have a lot of ventilation. With me sitting right here, I feel fresh air coming through the door and also the mesh over here. Additionally, we have a bathtub floor with this tent here. This is door number 1. Back here is door number 2. I have to say, everybody, I am blown away by this tent. I don't remember if I mentioned this or not, but this tent does feature 2 vents, 1 on each side. Now let's go over some stats, everybody. At the time of filming, this tent cost me $252 off of Temu. This is not a special deal, nothing like that. The only thing that I noticed that was a little bit odd was that it said that it was a pre-order. I don't know exactly what that means, but that's what it said. This tent weighs 10 pounds on my scale. NatureHike says that it's completely waterproof and is perfect for camping, hiking, and outdoor activities. I personally would not carry this for hiking purposes for backpacking. No way. This thing is large and it's very heavy. Additionally, NatureHike claims that this is a 4-season tent, and so far I believe their statement. The poles with this tent are very burly. You can stake this thing out. The company includes 13 stakes, but in truth, you could probably use 20 stakes. If you decide to purchase this tent, definitely add more. You will be glad that you did so. It takes more than 13 stakes to really stake this out and to get it secure. The inner tent is made from a 30 denier polyester that's been silicone treated. The mesh is polyester as well. The outside fabric material is a 70 denier nylon ripstop. As far as a waterproof rating goes, NatureHike states that the floor is 3,000 and the fly itself is 2,000. The poles are 7001 aluminum. This is a double wall tent. It is freestanding, but you'll definitely want stakes if you want to open up the awning like I have. The company also states that this features double doors. I have to disagree. I say it's 3. I don't think they're counting the awning for some reason. When it comes to the storage bag, it is 22 inches long and it's about 8 inches wide. Now I'm going to grab the tape measure and measure this tent for you, starting with the inner tent first. We have a peak height of about 40.5 inches. As far as width goes, we're looking at 4 feet, and we're looking at 79 inches long, which is 6 feet 7 inches. As far as the inner goes for this tent, this is large. I mean, just about anybody can fit inside of this, and in truth, 2 people could. As far as the measurements go for the entire tent, we're looking at 55 inches tall, 88 inches wide, 125 inches long. That is longer than 10 feet. This, my friends, is a very big tent. Now, my friends, let's go over my impressions of this tent so far. So I've looked this tent over very, very closely, and I've seen no issues when it comes to the seam work. There's no loose threads, nothing like that. All of the seams have been taped. Also, all of the important points on this tent have been reinforced. The zippers are very smooth. The tent is covered in mesh, so you can keep the bugs out when you want to. You could still get good airflow. And at the same time, you have this awning here, which is really, really nice. So in light rain, you can have this set up, you can stay dry. If the rain gets heavier, you can zip it shut. You could also take a tarp and put it over the top of this, or at least half of it. From there, you can have a really nice setup in wet conditions. The inner is huge. It's a palace for 1 person and their dog. On the inside of the tent here, there's enough space for a wood stove, for some wood, for a chair, for a table. The doors are easy to get in and out of, and the same applies for the inner. You're not going to have any sort of issues getting in or out of the inner of this tent, even with the bathtub floor. As we all have seen, the tent does feature a hot tent aspect. We have a stove jack here that I cannot wait to use. Initially, I was concerned about the setup process, but it turned out to be no big deal. The poles are color coded, so it's one of those things, if you pay attention, it's no big deal. In the end, it took me about 15 minutes to set this up, and I had no instructions. Let's say that you're not as experienced as I am setting up tents, and that's not an ego thing. I'm just saying, hey, I've done this a ton. Most of the time I can figure this out pretty easily. It may take you 30 minutes to set this up. Something like that. Luckily, everything here is color coded, and the pole placements do make sense. 13 tent stakes were included. I would bump that number up to 20 at least. That's going to allow you to set this up in just about any way that you want to. If you want to stake out the awning and the snow skirt, I would definitely add more stakes. As far as the design goes for this tent, I'm really blown away, especially when you consider the price that I paid for this. We're talking about fairly good materials. We have a nylon fly that goes over the tent, a shell. We have an inner tent, a stove jack, a huge awning. The tent is covered in mesh. No matter what, there's plenty of space to sit under this very comfortably. And again, this tent was only $250. That blows my mind. To be honest, everybody, before I took a look at these tents that I purchased from Temu, I thought for certain this was going to be a joke. I thought that both tents would be a piece of junk, but that's simply not the case. The first tent that we took a look at is worth $50. I'm going to test it out, see if it's waterproof. We'll find out together how well it performs. With this tent here, $250, that price blows my mind. I don't want to get ahead of myself and recommend this tent because I haven't tested it out yet. I do not know if it's waterproof. I'm going to assume that it is. But let's say this. I paid $250 for this tent and it turns out to be waterproof. That would make this tent, with the overall design here, one of the best deals I have ever seen in the outdoor space. Seriously, if this tent was made by any other company, it would cost $800 to $1,000, maybe even $1,200. With all of this being said and considered, my question for you all is this. Would you gamble with $250 and buy this tent before you knew it was waterproof? I do want to say this, everybody. This episode is not sponsored by Temu. I block every single email that they send to me, and I receive thousands of them. You all asked me to review some Temu products, so here we are, and these are my thoughts. With the NatureHike tent, so far this is a major go. For now, everyone, I am done. Hit the like button before you go. It helps the channel quite a bit. If you want to support a channel that's not about selling products but sharing information, this is the channel to support. Patreon, YouTube, you can join the Wolfpack. If you want more information about these tents, make sure to subscribe and to stay tuned. Take care, be well, strength and honor.